You're listening to the Spring Break Money Coach School, a special series from the Wander Wealthy podcast. My name is Tess Wicks. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I am so excited to welcome you to the Spring Break Money Coach School. This is a series of 13 episodes, which have been the most listened to and highly valued episodes from the Wander Wealthy podcast over the last 2 years. I have taken the time to make sure to put these episodes in a specific order for anyone who is either looking to refresh yourself on what's important about building a life-changing money coaching program, selling, marketing, and getting your money coaching business off of the ground and booked out, or for those who are brand new to the show and looking for some guidance. These are the episodes to listen to, and I would highly recommend, if you are not at the very first Spring Break Money Coach School episode in the series, scroll back on your podcast player and go start with the one that is sharing my story. That is the first one to tune into so you can see how it all goes down, what I'm all about, and what I bring as a money coach to this space. Now, while you're listening, just a little announcement. I am going on maternity leave in the fall of 2022, which means the Wealthy Coach Blueprint is not open for enrollment. So even if you hear me announce that in one of these episodes, I just want to let you know that we are not open for enrollment, but what you can do is get on the wait list for 2023 enrollment periods. In the meantime, I would definitely suggest for you to check out the pricing formula, which you can find at wanderwealthy.com/pricing. If you're struggling with pricing your services and not really sure what a package would look like and how you would price a coaching package, that is the guidebook, calculator, and little mini trainings that you need to get that all sorted out. Another way that we can quote unquote work together with a wink is by you getting access to the client attraction content matrix. This is a quick mini course that's going to teach you my secret sauce to creating content that converts. Whether you want to create TikToks or Instagram Reels, stories, posts, videos, even for YouTube or podcast episodes, even blog posts, this matrix is going to change your business. Because when it comes to creating content, you need to make sure that you're creating content that speaks to your audience and then gets them to turn into paying clients. So you can get access to that by heading to wanderwealthy.com/content. And if you want a very special deal, get your hands on the pricing formula first, and you might just get a very special discount to the matrix, as well as a special treat in between that teaches you all about my simple sales strategy. So wanderwealthy.com/pricing to get your hands on the formula, and wanderwealthy.com/content if you're just interested in the content matrix. And those are some ways that we can continue to work together over the next handful of months. Thanks again for tuning in to the Spring Break Money Coach School. Now, without further ado, let's get into this week's episode for this amazing series. Well, welcome back. This is the Wander Wealthy podcast. My name is Tess Wicks. I am your host, founder of Wander Wealthy, and your new business coach. If you are a money coach, wealth coach, financial coach, you're either new, maybe you're aspiring, maybe you've been doing it for a few months and you're a little frustrated with your traction or the number of clients, or you're doubting your program, then you are in the right place. We're going to talk about how to get your first paying client. But before we do, let me share with you the sponsor of this week's episode, which is my program, the Wealthy Coach Blueprint. The Wealthy Coach Blueprint is a program that I created after many money coaches in the space were asking me how I built my booked out coaching business. For the past 4 years-ish, I was running a personal finance education platform that turned into a money coaching business. It took me years to do, and I want to collapse that time and help you build your booked out money coaching business without all the mistakes that I definitely made. So there were some things that I did right and I learned along the way, and that is what I've bucket it into my program, the Wealthy Coach Blueprint, which is ultimately going to help you build your life-changing coaching program so you can feel super confident in what you are ultimately delivering. Know exactly who you're delivering that to so that you can attract and work with dream clients. Know how to attract them and magnetize them to your content and you and the work that you have to offer, and ultimately make more money and see that those ideal dream clients, once they see your program, because you're developing it specifically for them, they're going to want to pay you. So don't even doubt the fact that you can't make money as a money coach, because girlfriend or boyfriend, you can. You absolutely can, and it is 100% possible. People need you. They desperately need you, and you deserve to get paid for it because you are going to be doing the Lord's work of holding the space for them and helping them overcome their financial boundaries and hurdles and blocks. So in order to do that, you got to get your first paying client. Am I right? Am I right? So let's talk about how that looks. Oh, but I forgot to mention, the Wealthy Coach Blueprint is currently closed for enrollment. I am in the process of working through the program with a bunch of amazing money coaches, and I want to make sure that you can get into the next enrollment phase, which is going to be taking place in August. So you can get on the wait list for the next enrollment by going to wanderwealthy.com/apply. You can check out the blueprint and then scroll all the way to the bottom and jump on the wait list. And the reason you want to do that is because the wait list is going to be the first to know. You're going to get a personal invite from me to apply for a discovery call so that we can talk about your business, your goals, and what the blueprint is all about and see if you're a good fit. And then we can get you enrolled. And it is totally first come, first serve. So if you want to be the first to know, you got to get there because I do cap the number of people I can take on reasonably at any given time. I want to make sure that you are getting all the love and support you deserve in building your business. And there is only one of me. So I got to make sure that you're going to get it all and get it all good and right and get the value from it. And that is why I cap the number of people that I can enroll. So set your calendar, set a little reminder for August. Be on the lookout for that, but don't wait and just get on the wait list by going to wanderwealthy.com/apply. Okay, now let's talk about how to get your first paying client, which ultimately you will 100% get when you go through the blueprint. But I want to share the steps that I guess if I had to start all over again, this is exactly what I do. Now, first and foremost, what you want to know is, and by the way, you might already be working with some clients here or there. And they most likely what I, get from a lot of my clients that come and work with me through the blueprint is they talk about how they've been working with some people pro bono, whether it's friends or family or, even someone random who they didn't really know before the person found out that they like to talk about money. And they're like, yeah, I can help you. Let me just help you get it set up. And so a lot of people are working with clients pro bono, but how do you ultimately get your first paying client? And the very first thing I want you to recognize is whether you're working with people pro bono or not, you've always been working with yourself and you are your very first client and you want to make sure that you show up as one. And you also want to make sure that you are walking your talk when it comes to what you're going to be having your clients do, which in a lot of ways is making sure that you are investing in your own development, just like what you would be asking your clients to do as well, right? Like if someone's going to come and pay you, revisit that question and go, would I go and pay someone else? And that doesn't mean that like you had to invest in a money coach because you might feel like really good about money coaching, but it could be other things. And really this is just helping you see that you need to exercise what you preach, right? You need to practice what you preach. I probably should have said it that way, but you need to walk your talk and stay in integrity with what you will be ultimately opening up to your clients for, right? You want them to pay to work with you. Where do you pay to work with other people? What do you know are your hurdles and your developmental opportunities that you're not valuing yourself? And you're not valuing yourself enough to say it's worth making that investment to take it to the next level. And whether that is actually working with someone like a coach, like a business coach who can help you build the business, or it's some other aspect of life, just identify that. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's health and wellness, maybe it's literally anything else. but just identify if you are acting in integrity with what you're ultimately going to be asking your clients to do. Maybe it is a money coach. Maybe you're like, I've been doing great, but I could use an extra set of eyes. So just identify that and make sure that you are your very first client. And that's going to play out in the rest of this episode because we're going to be walking through, developing your program and making your sale. But you want to remember that at the crux of it all, you want to stay in integrity with what you are offering and making sure that you are, practicing what you preach. So with that in mind, the very first thing that I would ultimately do is look at my own story and my own transformation, right? If you've developed a really good, strong relationship with your money, you've probably followed some sort of step-by-step process without really realizing it was a step-by-step process, right? Like I didn't follow my own blueprint, but as I go back, I identify the places where I did things right, and I take those and then I put it into the blueprint. Because now I know, okay, if I had to do it all over again, this is the step-by-step process I would do. And I'm talking on a business level, but you can do that with your money, right? You probably took the long, winding road to get your money in order, but you can look and go, okay, what are the things I did right? And how can I kind of make that into a step-by-step strategic methodology or process? And this is going to play an important role in a couple of minutes. I was going to say a couple of steps, but if we're talking about podcast terms, I'm going to share why you need to know this in a couple of minutes. But just take a moment and look at yourself as your first client and jot down what are the key milestones I had to hit in order to get from where I was to where I am now. And ultimately where you're going to help your clients get, right? The next thing I would do is identify some people in your network who you really want to be able to work with. Who seem like the ideal client for you. And there's a process you can go through to get really specific with identifying your niche. And I also have done a podcast episode on this more recently, so go check that out. But you want to, pick a niche and then find some people in your network, in your community, in your space. Maybe you have some people just randomly following you that you can reach out to and say, hey, I'd love to jump on the phone and just talk to you and ask you some questions. No sale, I promise. I really want to get to know you and, what your goals and struggles are right now. And more likely than not, they'll be like, okay, that sounds fine. And what you're going to do in that case is there's a long process of interviews that you can hold with them to identify their pain points and their goals, but you also want to know what they would find as extremely valuable if you were to offer a program at a specific price point. So in the last episode, in episode 171, we talked about the $100 online course versus the $1,000 program. So if you need to use $1,000, you can do that. If you have an idea of the price point that you would need, given the capacity of the people you can work with at any given time, given the income goals that you have, that's something I teach you how to calculate when you get the online coach's pricing workbook, which you can get by going to wanderwealthy.com/workbook. But that is a process to identify kind of a starting price point for a program that you might create. And that can be a good strategy to use to identify that price point. But what you would then do is in these interviews, actually say that price point and say, what would you need in a program and how would it be structured and what would you expect or need to be promised if you were going to pay this amount? So let's say it is $1,000. If you were going to pay $1,000, pay me $1,000 to be your coach, what would you need? What would you expect? What would you want from it? And then they're just going to rattle it off. And so after you have a handful of those interviews, you can really identify what they would find as, an equal value exchange by them giving you $1,000 and you give them, the support that they need in return and however that looks. So that's the next step that I would take. And then what I would do, so we'll say these are steps. Step 1 is identify your own transformation journey and pick out the key milestones you had to go through to get to the end result. Step 2 is to interview some ideal clients. Let's aim for 5. Interview them and really get into their life and their mindset and the goals that they want to achieve. And, the goals should be somewhat in line with your own. If you're recognizing a pattern that they aren't in line with your own, then you might just have to switch and pivot the program, because these are obviously the people that, are probably willing to pay you, or you have to interview an entirely new set of people. But in that interview process, you want to ask them straight up, what would you expect from a program in order to pay fill in the blank? Step 3 would be to sit down and develop out your actual program, right? Develop out your signature process, your signature methodology. You can call it whatever you want, but develop it out in terms of the transformation you want to provide to your clients. So going back to those interviews that you conducted and going back to your own personal transformation story, see if those key milestones that you went through is what your clients need and want and are expecting. Now, of course, you want to bring your own expertise and innovativeness to a program. So you don't just want to give the client what they think they need, because you might know on a deeper level what they really need, but you want to kind of blend the two. What do they expect? What do they want? What do they need? And then what do you know is really going to move the needle as well for them? And then put that into a step-by-step process. Now, this is really the magical piece when it comes to getting your first paying client, is being able to explain that you have a proven process that just works, right? So that they can really feel like when they hire you as a coach, they're not just buying your time. They're not just buying an hour of your time to talk to you about their problems and then you be like, okay, what do you want to talk about today? Okay, here's what I would do. They're buying a proven process that you're going to take them through in your coaching with them, and they can really see and envision themselves going through and getting to the end of, right? Getting to the end of that experience and that vision. So you want to help them be able to see that value by putting your process down on paper, identifying what the steps are, what those key milestones are. And then the key part here is to actually name your process and take ownership of it. Once I did this, so many things changed for me. Okay. And now what I have is the Wealthy Coach Blueprint. This is an 8-step eight-phase blueprint that you go through to build out your thriving booked out coaching business, right? I named my process the Wealthy Coach Blueprint. It is a blueprint, and you go through phase by phase. And by the end of it, you will be well on your way to running your coaching business that you at the very beginning probably didn't even think was possible. And I'm going to show you how it is. So you can claim your process, your method, your blueprint, your roadmap, call it whatever you want, but help your client envision and put some tangibility to what they really get from working with you. It's not just, 60 minutes of my time. It's an entire process we're going to get you through so that you can experience the transformation that I have and that I live out on a daily basis, and you're ultimately selling that to them. Okay? So then what you do, that's step 3, is to develop your process and put a name to it. Step 4 is to talk about your process all of the time, right? Talk about it. Make your offer. Talk about your program and get it out there. So many people make the mistake of developing something and then never talking about it. And I can tell you, I made that mistake all the time because it feels weird. And even, I think we might feel braggy, or we might feel weird. It might feel salesy or cringeworthy. But in reality, you're a business. You're not an influencer talking about a range of products. You're a business. Your business does one thing. Talk about that one thing, right? There are so many businesses that just do one thing and that's all they talk about, but we expect that. But for whatever reason, because you're also your own personal brand, you feel like you need to mix it up, but you really need to actually be a broken record. People need to hear things on average 7 to 12 times before they're able to actually put it into practice or before they're willing to buy. So if you're not talking about your offer and your signature process or methodology, you're not doing enough. By talking about it, that's how people are going to find out about it. And they're going to start, learning about it and building that trust in you. And ultimately, once you have that process and you know how to talk about it and you know how to put yourself out there and market it in the right way, that's when people are going to start inquiring. And by the way, while you're going through these steps, what do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. When you're going through these 4 steps, you're probably going to get your first paying client even before you finish, before you even name your signature process. Because naturally, you are stepping into the role of being a coach now. And so the things that you do on a daily basis, the things that you talk about, even just the outreach that you're going to be doing to conduct these interviews with individuals, they're probably going to be like, hey, can I hire you? I want to work with you. You know what you're talking about, and I could really use your help. And then you just turn it into, all right, yeah, I have a program that I'm working on developing. I'd love to get you in as a beta tester, or, I'd love to get you in as the first client. Let's agree on a price that's going to work. You can offer them a beta price, or you can offer them the price that you ask them. What are you willing to pay for this price point? And then you can sell it to them for that. The process of getting your first paying client is not difficult. It's simple. There's definitely a lot of, mindset pieces that are going to come up. And that's why I always encourage people, if you don't have a mentor or a coach, get a mentor and a coach. Because building a business is simple, but getting over yourself and getting out of your own way, that's usually the hardest part. And sometimes you just need someone to help you work through those deeper feelings that are coming up that are saying, who am I to do this? Or why would anyone pay me to do this? Or am I enough? Right? And that's the icky stuff that we either try to avoid or comes up and hits us and smacks us in the face. So identify how you can be your best and first client, and how you can live in integrity with what you're asking your clients to do. And if you're ready to make an investment in yourself and go through this process on a much deeper level, right? Like I just shared a couple pieces of the blueprint with you, but if you're ready to get into the Wealthy Coach Blueprint and go through my signature process of helping you build your life-changing coaching program, feeling so confident about it, but then being able to know how to communicate that to your ideal clients, having validated the clients that actually want this and are willing to pay what you want to make from this and what you're going to pack value into to get the right exchange from it. And if you want to know how to manage your coaching business and manage all of the clients and deliver an amazing, incredible, life-changing experience, then I invite you to get on the waitlist. Go to wanderwealthy.com/apply and let's build your booked out coaching business, babe. I'm ready to do it with you, and I can't wait to support you. So if you have any questions about this week's episode, about getting your first paying client, go ahead and reach out to me on Instagram, add me at Tess_Wicks, and send me a DM and we can chat all about it. I'd love to hear your takeaways. You can also share them in stories and tag me, and I will do my due diligence and share them with the rest of the world, because I want to know what you're loving from this episode and from this podcast in general. And don't forget to head to wanderwealthy.com/apply and jump on the wait list for the next enrollment period for the Wealthy Coach Blueprint. So wanderwealthy.com/apply, jump on the wait list so that you can be the first to know when enrollment opens. Remember, it is first come, first serve, and I do cap the number of clients that I can work with in each round of us going through the 12-week blueprint. All right, that is it, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. And until next time, I hope you wander wealthy.